The People's National Party has not performed better with Mark Golding as its president. That's the latest finding of the RJR Gleaner Don Anderson poll. Vashon Brown has been looking at the numbers and now joins us in studio. Vashon.
Thank you so much, Herman. Well, the RJR Gleaner Don Anderson poll was conducted between August 19 and September 3. 1,003 persons were interviewed from all parishes across the island. Now, the margin of error is plus or minus 3%. The results show that the People's National Party's performance has actually worsened since Mark Golding took over the presidency. In fact, Mr. Golding himself also received a very dismal performance rating.
When the last poll was done in July 2020, Dr. Peter Phillips was the president of the People's National Party. At that time, both the party and Dr. Phillips were struggling in the poll. Then came the general election in September. The PNP was defeated by the Jamaica Labour Party. Dr. Phillips later resigned, making way for a new leader. On November 7, 2020, Mark Golding became the president of the PNP after defeating Lisa Hanna. In last year's poll, 43% of the respondents gave the PNP a negative performance rating, while 16% gave the party a positive rating. Pollster Don Anderson says when this year's poll is compared to last year's, it essentially says more people felt negatively about the PNP's performance this year than they did last year.
Had a 19% who thought that the performance of the People's National Party as an opposition was very poor, compared to 33% who thought it was poor, or a combined negative of 52 percentage points. That is 9 percentage points more than it was in July last year. What about the positives? We had 8% who thought it was good, the performance of the party was good, and only 2% who thought that the party's performance was very good. So we have a combined positive of 10%.
Just like his party, Mark Golding's ratings were also poor. Last July, 46% of the respondents rated Dr. Phillips's performance as negative, and 16% gave him a positive performance rating. But Mr. Anderson says Mark Golding's numbers are worse.
We had 14% who considered the performance of the leader of the opposition to be very poor. We had against that, however, an increase up to 31% who considered the performance of the leader of the opposition as being poor. So we had a combined negative rating of 47%, up 1 percentage point over the July 2020 reading. We had 9% who considered the performance of the leader of the opposition as being good, but the same 2% who considered it to be very good. So we had an 11 percentage point positive rating for the leader of the opposition's performance. So the positives are down and the negatives only up by 1 percentage point. So we have an increase in the negative rating of the leader of the opposition in terms of the performance.
Jamaicans were also asked to rate the best and worst performing spokespersons. The last time the poll was conducted, Peter Bunting was ranked the best performing spokesperson with 22% of respondents listing his name. In this latest poll, Damien Crawford topped the list as the best performing spokesperson.
10% rated Damien Crawford as the best performing opposition spokesperson. He was followed by Lisa Hanna, 8 percentage points, and Mark Golding, the current leader of the opposition, as 8% as the leading spokesperson or the best performing spokespersons for the People's National Party.
The poll also found that 54% of respondents were unable to say who they thought was the best performing opposition spokesperson.
It says that to a large extent, the opposition is not resonating with the people.
Mr. Crawford also topped the list of worst performers, with 6% of persons giving his name, followed by Peter Bunting, Lisa Hanna, and Anthony Hilton.
Now, Vashon, I noticed that Damien Crawford, he was at the top of both the best and worst performing list. Why is that?
So, Herman, it's a question we get all the time whenever we have the person ending up on both lists. So, two separate open-ended questions were asked. The first one was, who do you think is the best performing spokesperson? Now, all the respondents answered that question when the figures were calculated. 10% of the respondents listed Damien Crawford's name, so he ended up at the top of the list. Now, for the second question, the respondents were asked who is the worst performing spokesperson. Again, 6% of the respondents gave Damian Crawford's name. It is also important to note that those who listed Mr. Crawford as the best performing spokesperson are not necessarily those who listed him as the worst. And another important point from this as well is only 54% of the respondents in the survey answered this, the question about the best performing spokesperson.
Okay, and one major thing, what did the poll say about the unity in the PNP?
Well, Herman, last year, people were asked their views on whether the PNP was united. 78% said no. The other 22% said yes. Now, this year, a slightly different question was asked. Can the PNP sort out its internal difficulties soon? Majority of the respondents, 59%, said no. The other 41% had a different view. Herman?
All right, thank you very much, Sebastian. And before you go, tomorrow, what will we have?
So tomorrow, we'll look at the performance of the government and, of course, the performance of Prime Minister Andrew Holness. And on Wednesday, we will have the big one, party standings.
Okay, looking forward to that. Thank you very much.